trail and some breaking news. The Bengals have given defensive end Trey Hendrickson permission to seek a trade. Oh, by the way, he was the league leader in sacks last season with 17.5, but he is eligible for an extension along with Ja'Marr Chase. We have to bring in two of the best minds in this space, NFL analyst Mina Kimes and senior NFL writer Bill Barnwell on this one. Hendrickson follows the news that the Chargers released their longtime defensive end Joey Bosa. Mina, the Bengals already lost Sam Hubbard to retirement, and they were famously ranked 25th in defense last season. So what does all this mean for Cincinnati?
Well, let's start with the good news. I think it means they're keeping T. Higgins, so Land stays together on offense. We were wondering all offseason how they would pay him, Ja'Marr Chase, and Trey Hendrickson. My feeling is that they'll be able to... Oh, pardon me, my mic fell off. Let's put that back up. Okay, you should be able to hear me now.
We can still hear you,
Talking about that. So, my feeling is they should be able to pay T. Higgins and keep the offense together and hopefully win every game, 42-40 or whatnot. Defensively, though, is where the challenge is. And now you highlighted this. Trey Hendrickson wasn't just the NFL sacks leader. He was the Bengals sacks leader by an overwhelming margin. He had over 80 pressures. The next three Bengals edge rushers combined were less than that. So now you have to rebuild not only this pass rush, but really this entire defense with the new defensive coordinator and Al Golden. I do not envy him, frankly. They have to draft better. They're not going to have a ton of money in free agency, but there's a little bit of maneuverability there. But yeah, it's a tall task for this defense.
Yeah, you saw Bengals players upset about this move on social media. Trey Hendrickson is a superstar. 26 sacks created last season. Nobody else in the National Football League had more than 14.5. He nearly lapped the field in terms of creating sacks for himself and for his teammates. And there are going to be a lot of teams around the NFL who see Trey Hendrickson as maybe that final piece to the puzzle, the thing to put them over the top maybe. I look at a team like maybe the Atlanta Falcons, where they have been looking for a pass rusher, since John Abraham left about 15 years ago. Trey Hendrickson could be a guy who puts them over the top, is a difference maker for them. That's going to be a guy where a lot of teams are going to have a call today and say, hey, should we be making a big investment and calling the Bengals about trading for Trey Hendrickson?
I think that's what prompted this. I think the Bengals saw that Max Crosby contract and they were like, turns out we're not that into you, actually. But you mentioned it, Mina. Their approach of just trying to outscore everybody, it really worked out swimmingly for them last year, so why panic? The Browns are making some moves, too. Field Yates reporting that they once again restructured Deshaun Watson's contract, clearing $36 million in cap space. Cleveland had been $22 million over the cap. Watson has 2 years left on that fully guaranteed deal, but he is going to miss most of next season with an Achilles injury. So another restructuring for Watson. Browns also have the second pick in the draft. What's the move here, Mina? What should they do?
I would be shocked if they don't take a quarterback in the draft. This is not a great group of quarterbacks in free agency. Even if it was, the Browns don't have a lot of money, even with some of that cleared up. And picking where they are at 2, they're going to have options. I think the question, though, for them is if they have a preference, say Cam Ward out of Miami, who a lot of folks, myself included, have as quarterback 1, are you confident that he is going to fall to you at 2, much like my microphone did earlier, or do you have some concerns not only that Tennessee might take him, but also that another team might want to leapfrog you, say the Giants, the Raiders, to get to that number 1 spot? So there's going to be a lot of conversation between now and the draft about whether or not the Browns actually do have to move up from that 2 spot to get a quarterback. But Bill, I would be shocked if they don't draft a passer.
Yeah, either with the first overall pick or the second overall pick, coming away with some sort of quarterback solution is essential for the Cleveland Browns. Not just to fix their offense, but maybe to make their star defender happy in Myles Garrett. This offense with Deshaun Watson last year was just abysmal. Before he got injured, they were in the bottom 12 since 2007 in QBR, third down conversion rate, points per drive. This was one of the worst offenses in NFL history, at least recent NFL history. So getting Myles Garrett on board with maybe a better quarterback, signs of life, signs that you're heading in the right direction on offense might be not only a thing to fix your offense, but also to convince your star edge rusher he wants to stay in Cleveland in the long term.
Side note, let this be a little bit of a lesson for us regulars. If your funds are running a little low, you don't have money, just restructure your bank account, because for NFL teams, money just seems to appear out of nowhere. It's a pro tip, a little financial advice for you here on SportsCenter. Speaking of which, Bill and Mina are money, so they are sticking around. Still ahead, Mike DiRocco reporting that the Jaguars are releasing tight end Evan Engram after 3 seasons. It saves him about $6 million against the cap. The 2-time Pro Bowler played in only 9 games last season because of a shoulder injury. He's not the only person on the move. In fact, not the only Jags who's getting on the move. Ashton Schefter reports that Jacksonville's trading receiver Christian Kirk to the Texans for a 2026 7th-round pick that originally belonged to the Rams. There's, of course, as we mentioned earlier in the show, DK Metcalf, who requested a trade from the Seahawks after spending his first 6 seasons in Seattle. His 48 touchdown catches tied for the 5th most in the league since his 2019 debut. Devontae Adams needs a new home. He was released by the Jets. The former longtime Packer, one of 4 wideouts with 1,000 yards in each of the last 5 seasons. And of course, there's Cooper Kupp, who could be on the move via trade or release from the Rams. The former Triple Crown winner helped the Rams to their 2nd Super Bowl title just 3 seasons ago. As promised, the cerebral vortex is back. Mina Kimes, Bill Barnwell. I just ran through a whole ton of receivers that are on the open market. In your mind, though, Bill, which one do you think elevates a contender to the next level?
Ooh, okay. Cooper Kupp going to the Los Angeles Chargers. If you watched the Chargers game this year, you probably saw someone running wide open and Justin Herbert hitting them in the hands for a pass that they dropped. Cooper Kupp is a sure-handed receiver. He is a great blocker, which helps on those screens and all the run plays the Chargers run. And he's great working off of motion on those crossers, on those option routes. It's something the Chargers used at one of the highest rates in football last year. They need a number 2. Ladd McConkey looks really promising, but Cooper Kupp would be a great fit. And hey, he gets to stay in Los Angeles. Who doesn't love not having to move?
Well, there's only one problem with that, which is I have the Chargers trading for DK Metcalf. The Chargers are going to be linked with a lot of wide receivers. It was such a glaring need for them. I hate the idea of Kupp, by the way. I think it makes a lot of sense. It's just that DK Metcalf is now the most attractive option available, with it seeming increasingly likely that the Bengals are going to hold on to T. Higgins. He is a true boundary X receiver who can win deep, incredible number of explosive plays, and I think pairs really well with Ladd McConkey, who was unbelievably efficient and productive last year, particularly working from the slot. I also like Metcalf in LA because Justin Herbert is able and willing to throw deep and give his receivers chances to make big plays. That will be rewarded if they trade for Metcalf.
So, Mina, me and you talked about this on First Take a little earlier. Putting aside the idea that he wants to join a contender, which they all do, I felt like the Patriots probably need DK Metcalf the most, right? But it's also because they got a ton of money, the most cap space by a lot, $130 million. A pair of AFC West rivals can reload with their abundant cap space as well. You got the Raiders now at just under $100 million, with the Chargers not far behind. So the Patriots do have some money to spend, along with some other teams. But, Bill, who do you think the Patriots should target in free agency?
In addition to all those wide receivers they can look at, they also need some help on the offensive line. And I would just go with the